Dean.
Here.
Nichols.
Yes.
Perilio.
Here.
Bontrager. And I do expect Larry to walk in any minute, but that's not a problem. Next.
Approval agenda. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
I will second.
Okay. Alt.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Perilio.
Yes.
Knight. Bontrager.
Okay, and then approval of minutes, or deletions or corrections. Or motion.
Move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay.
Knight. Bontrager. Nichols.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Perilio.
Yes.
Okay, it's up to you now.
It's up to me. Okay. What we have is a variance application for a front yard setback on new construction, rental cottage. Nancy Volmar is here, the applicant. I think most of you know where Leisure Street is, but it's 162. It's actually called Leisure Road. But it's right there at Cadillac West by Mr. Fozzy's Pasties. And then there's a rental cottage next door. At the end of Leisure Street, the city has a sewage lift station. And there's also a short pathway for campers to get from the state park to Leisure Road to go to Burger King, Wall Ravens, Mr. Fozzy's, the various businesses, Lakeside Charlie's. So it's a short street, not a lot of properties on it. This is looking down Leisure Street, and on the right, she put a sign up with the address. I assume you did that, Nancy.
Did that for the misdig.
Oh, okay, for Misdig. And again, it shows the city lift station, and off to the left is that. And actually, the building in the background, that is actually where campers, when they first pull in, they stop and check in and do all of that. This is an area that's zoned TS2 tourist service. To be a conforming size lot, it needs to be 10,000 square foot. This is. To be conforming, it needs a width of at least 100 feet. It is. This lot is vacant. Having a short-term lodging rental thing like this is a permitted use by right in that district. It doesn't need a special use or anything else. In the aerial GISs that I sent you, they are dated 2010, so they're 11 years old. They actually show a home that used to be on this vacant lot. It was a rental home. It was condemned, I think at one point it had a fire. There was no parking in front of it. The parking was, even though you see a car in the picture parked in front, parking was basically on the side and in the rear. But it was condemned, and it had sat condemned for a long time. The individual fell behind on taxes. The county took possession of it, and our fire marshal applied for a blight grant, a federal blight grant, and the county was a partner in this. And the purpose of the blight grant was to essentially demolish a number of properties. We ended up doing, I think, 8 or 9 within the city that were in this type of condition. They just were turned over to the county. They were condemned. They needed to be bulldozed and cleaned up. And what was kind of nice, and when they did do this, they actually demoed them in a fashion to where I believe this site, Nancy, is site built. It's ready to build, meaning they took all the footings, basements, all this stuff out of there and backfilled in so that when they're built on in the future, you don't have any unexpected concrete and other obstacles like that in the way. So we really did a good cleanup job on that. But Ms. Volmar, she purchased it. At this site, directly across the street, is the new parking lot for large vehicles for Burger King, so it gets everything from campers, boats, semi-trucks, and all that, which the former parking, they just didn't have it. And I think most of you that have been in town for many years, you remember, and you can see it on the larger GIS where I kind of zoomed out. You can see where there used to be an old Clark gas station.
Oh,
And one of the neat things that MDOT liked when the new parking lot was built is where you see in the GIS with the Clark gas station, they took some curb cuts out. So the curb cuts that were there for the gas station are gone. So that was a nice project that Burger King paid for, and I know MDOT certainly appreciated it. When we consider variance, Nancy, this is from the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, but it's also in our ordinance. But it basically reads, the Zoning Board of Appeals may authorize a variance from the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, or area of a specific piece of property at the time of enactment of the ordinance, or by reason of exceptional conditions of such property, the strict application of the regulations enacted would result in peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties to, or exceptional undue hardship upon the owner of the property. Basically, staff feels the one exceptional condition that this has is that the neighboring rental cabin right next door is set back from the right-of-way 22 feet. Of the two cottages that she is anticipating being able to build, one of them will be 30 feet back, so it'll clearly be farther back than the rental cottage you see on the left in the picture here. So that is set 22 feet back from the right-of-way. But the one cottage she's proposing will be set 30 feet back, so it'll be an additional 8 feet back. And the other cottage, actually the first one that they're planning on building, I believe, that'll actually be set 45 feet back, a 5-foot porch entryway, which, you know, she has the option, which she put on her site plan, they may be covered. They may or may not be covered. So the one potential proposed cottage would be 30 feet back, 8 feet farther, and the other one would be 45 feet back, which technically, it's quite a bit farther back than that and Mr. Fozzie's. Also, Mr. Fozzie's has a non-conforming rear yard setback. The minimum rear yard setback is 45 feet. The back of Mr. Fozzie's pasties is not 45 feet from the rear yard. Both these also have non-conforming side yard setbacks. Minimum side yard setbacks are to be 10 feet, and you can tell by this picture that these two buildings clearly are not 20 feet apart. And so there's quite a bit of non-conformities right in this immediate site. And then, of course, across the street is a parking lot, and then, of course, Mitchell State Park. And Mitchell State Park property actually also, not only is at the north end of her site, it's actually at the east end. It goes out to the east, so it's a large parcel that's actually between there and the Cadillac Resort. So there's state of Michigan owns a lot of property right there. The other standards we look at, also from the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act and from our ordinance, is that the standard of the requested variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property. Staff, again, we feel this variance will not affect the supply of light or air to the adjacent properties. The other standard, the requested variance will not unreasonably increase congestion in public streets. We do feel there hopefully will be a little additional traffic on Leisure Street when these cabins are actually rented out. You know, when they're rented, there should be a little bit more traffic on Leisure Street. Another standard is the requested variance will not increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety. we feel the requested variance certainly will not endanger the public safety. In fact, what was there prior did endanger the public safety. And it did catch fire, and it was a problem, but that's been cleaned up. Another standard is the requested variance will not unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area. We feel obviously it's not going to negatively affect surrounding areas, but it certainly is going to increase the current property value of this vacant lot, because this will be brand new construction. Last standard is the requested variance will not impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city. Again, we feel that if this variance is approved, it will not impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city. What's interesting is this construction will need to meet the Michigan 2015 Commercial Building Code. Because it is in a TS2 zone district and it's going to be a rental, my understanding is you have that commercial building code for like a rental property versus a typical one-family residential. So it's not, I don't think, much, but I do think there are maybe an additional standard or two that when construction occurs they're going to have to meet. Again, staff comments, this proposed use as a rental cabin does fit also with the city's master plan for the TS2 zone district. It fits within our master plan. Also, we feel the proposed front yard setback gives plenty of room for parked vehicles to not stick out into the right-of-way. And when you look at her site plan and how it's laid out, she had actually even consulted with our fire marshal a little bit as far as spatial between the buildings and so forth. And there's actually enough room on this site for if someone were to rent it in the winter, they've got room to park a snowmobile trailer or two, or if it's someone in the summer, they've got room to park a boat or two. So there are a number of things about this that just seem to fit well in the view of staff. This is just to kind of show the parking. That is my car. It's a Chrysler 200, so it's not a large car at all. But I was parked a good probably 4 or 5 feet back from where the asphalt and the building are near as far as the cottage, certainly farther back than Mr. Fozzie's. And here's an example of a minivan parked at Mr. Fozzie's, and you can just see a lot of room behind it. It's not sticking out into anything. Public notices were placed in the newspaper more than 15 days, about 3 weeks prior to this hearing. Also, property owners within 300 feet of the subject site were given notice via first-class mail. We actually received no comments from any of the neighbors, certainly nothing negative, and just they got it. I think they understood what the public notice was about. And I think true with the owner of Mr. Fozzie's Pasties, you folks, if he had any questions, he was going to come to you, not us anyway, correct?
He's my nephew.
He's your nephew. So the board action here is based on finding of compliance or non-compliance with the standards of the ordinance. The board shall approve with conditions, or deny this variance application. Reasonable conditions may be attached to an approval in order to achieve compliance with the standards of our ordinance. Oops. And we're gonna do any of you have questions for myself or Ms. Vollmer? She is here.
I guess not. Do you have any comments? Okay.
No, it's a very short road and a lot of foot traffic from the state park, but the state park manager, I guess is what you call him, the director.
Ben? Yep.
They have cabins that are full all the time, and he was quite pleased with it. It's just not a through street, and so I think it fits in the area very well. That was kind of why we bought it in the first place, was to keep anybody else from going in there that might have a negative impact on the area.
Okay. Well, any comments? If not, a motion.
So we're looking for, 5 foot, no,
Building number 2 would require, because the TS2 setback minimum is 50 feet, so building number 2, you would need a 30-foot or a 20-foot variance from the 50-foot to meet the 30-foot that they've got on their site plan. So it'd be a 20-foot
And
front yard variance.
we wouldn't do separate variances for each building.
I think we don't need to. If we just do 20
Yep.
feet for the site, it certainly covers the first building.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Mike,
And
President.
standard procedure for something like this is, before John Wallace and I even look at the site plan and approve it, we will require a survey. That's just gonna be required.
Mhm.
Residential setback is 25 feet from front.
Well, it depends on the zoning district. It can be anywhere from 15
Okay.
to 25 to 30.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's different ones for residential and,
Well, I move that we grant a 20-foot front yard variance. Did I say that right?
that's fine.
Then make
It makes.
make it into a good
No,
sentence.
it's short and it gets to the point.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mike?
Nichols,
Yes.
Bontrager, Dean,
Yes.
Knight, Alt,
Yes.
Pavilio.
Yes.
Okay.
Nancy, your variance has been granted.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
I'll come for an official meeting sometime too.
You were a school teacher?
I will.
One of our staff said, I think it was one of our staff said they had you as a student. I'm trying to think who it was.
Well,
You've had a lot of them, probably.
I know, I mean, Mr. Stearns
Yes.
and several of your firemen,
Okay.
lots of your firemen.
Okay. Oh.
And a few of your police officers.
Okay.
You know, been here
Excellent.
for 45 years.
Great.
so.
Hey, good luck with this.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is. It is new construction, and they certainly, you know, I was kind of thinking about the Pilgrims Village across the street and how old they are, and I was comparing sizes, and, you know, they've got a couple larger, but, you know, at 900 square foot, these are definitely larger than those, and it's just, yeah.
Well, before we sold Mr. Foisey's and the little green rental to my nephew, we ran that as a rental, and I know how busy we were. And they liked it because it had 3 bedrooms,
Mhm.
washer and dryer. I think that's what people want when they come in the winter.
Mhm.
Well, and in the summer.
Mhm.
Walking distance to the lakes, easy drive to Traverse City. But then I'm kind of a Cadillac fan, so,
Sure.
you know, it's, so
Great.
it's exciting.
Thank you.
Sir. I'm sure, I'm leaving.
See you in the spring?
Snowbird people.
See you in the spring?
And, yeah, and my brother is coming back up, probably the first part of April.
We'll talk to you in the spring.
All right,
Thanks, Nancy.
sounds very good, thank you.
I guess we don't have any tabled items.
No?
No public comments?
We have no public.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Adjourned.